Hello and welcome back everyone to this series of learning English. I know I have shaved my beard. It's been a while since I've been keeping a full beard. Right now it's summers and it's super itchy. Okay, the humidity, the heat, it makes it very difficult for you to maintain a well kept beard. So this time I have chosen to shave it clean, and let's see for how many days does this continue. I'm not really fond of this clean shaven look, but let me know in the comments if you think it is an improvement on the bearded look. So, this is the second video of this chapter of how I taught my grandmother to read. So, just a brief recap. Okay, Sudha Murthy, she's living in northern Karnataka, where the local vernacular language spoken is Kannada. All right. Now, Sudha Murthy, she lives with her grandmother. Her grandmother is 62 years old. Okay, they both live in a village. That village in particular does not have a good transport system. So, the daily communications that they receive, be it newspapers, magazines, everything is usually late. Even the magazines, they are late by one day, and the newspapers reach in the afternoon. All right. So, one of the magazines is Karmavira. And in those magazines, on a weekly basis, they get one episode, that is one article from the novel that is Kashi Yatre. Now, keep in mind, this novel was written by Triveni, a woman. She died very early, which was presented as a loss to Kannada literature. So every week, there would be one article in in Karmavira. The name of that novel is Kashi Yatre, as the name suggests. The protagonist, that is the main character of that story, wants to visit Kashi. Kashi is one of the most sacred places that we have. And there is a temple of Vishveshwara, that is Vishnu, and you go over there and you worship, and it is considered to be the ultimate punya, the ultimate aim of your life. So the main character in that novel wants to go over there. Sudha Murthy's grandmother, she also wants to go over there. But there is a twist in the novel where the protagonist in the novel, that is Kashi Yatre, she meets a girl, and that girl is orphan. She has nobody to take care after her. She falls in love with a guy, and she now wants to marry, but she has no money to get married. So this old woman who saved up her entire life to visit Kashi gives that money to her. Very interesting story indeed. All right. Now, the grandmother of Sudha Murthy, she is very interested in this story. So every week, she will wait for the novel to come. When one episode of that novel comes in the weekly magazine, she would urge Sudha Murthy to read it, understand it, and then explain it back to her. Now, what is highlighted in the first part is her vulnerability, her dependency. The reason is she herself does not know how to read and write. Now, why does she not know how to read and write? She has narrated this episode on the top of the terrace when the grandmother and the granddaughter, both of them were relaxing after a dinner. So imagine on a cold summer night, you're sleeping on the terrace under a star-studded sky with a good lit up moon, and your grandmother, she's about to tell you something. Let's see what the second part is. All right. Now, the part begins with my 62-year-old grandmother was telling me. Okay, so her story was that the grandmother's mother, she died young. So the grandmother's father, he married again. And when she was of the age, she herself got married, and she never herself paid any attention to getting educated, to getting at least literate enough to read and write by herself. Okay, obviously now she regrets it, because in those days it wasn't considered very important for women to get educated, to get literate. But gone are those days. Now our society has moved past those orthodox beliefs. All right, and now we have a lot of girls in schools. Okay, the ratio of boys to girls in the school where I teach is almost equal, and same is the story for majority of the schools in the urban area at least. All right. So now Eva is thinking. So now Sudha Murthy, she is thinking that why is my grandmother telling me this story? She is usually very happy. Okay. If you see old people, they usually seem to be very happy. It's as if they have figured out what is the purpose of life. It is usually the teenagers, adults are the ones who are restless, are the ones who are constantly trying to, reach somewhere or achieve a goal. But if you look at Senior citizens, people who are above the age of 60 or 70, they usually have a calm demeanor. It's as if they've figured out, it's as if they've met God themselves. So her grandmother was very similar. She was always happy, always positive, always radiating energy and with enthusiasm. But today she had tears in her eyes after telling this story. Okay. So now she tells that why is she crying? Okay, for this you must understand what are some reasons why people usually cry. When they feel helpless, when they feel vulnerable, when they feel dependent. That is exactly what the grandmother was feeling. Sudha Murthy, she went for a marriage in a neighboring village. She stayed there for a good 10 days. So the grandmother might have missed at least 2 episodes of Kashi Yatre. Now, since she missed those 2 episodes, she missed meeting her friends. What was her bonding time with her friends? They used to sit and discuss the novel. After Sudha Murthy tells the grandmother tells her other friends. This is how that chain functioned. But since the apex of that chain, where the main part was elsewhere, they could not understand the novel. That was number 1. Number 2 is she was very ashamed to ask help from others. Now, one of my students in the class, when I was teaching this subject, she asked this doubt. She had a similar doubt. Okay, it's like, wasn't she were they the only people, only family in that village? Couldn't she have asked somebody else? And it was not as if the novel was written in English, it was written in Kannada. So they were living in northern Karnataka. She could have found somebody else from the same village of Sudha Murthy's age to tell her what happens in the novel. Now the answer to this is very different. Okay, let me take my example. I'm very finicky and choosy when it comes to eating. All right. For example, the place where I live in Gujarat, we make a curry known as sev tomatanu saak. Okay, it's a curry of sev and tomatoes. Okay, but I hate tomatoes in there. Although tomatoes, they bring a little tangy taste to that curry. But while eating, I'll always pick out tomatoes and put them in the side and only eat the sev. Okay, but I can be such a person within my house. But if I go outside, I would think twice. I would be reluctant to reveal this to others that I do not like tomatoes in the sev tomatanu saak. Then others would reply, what is the meaning then? The essence of sev tomatanu saak is tomato, that is tomatoes. So I can be such finicky, be such choosy, a lousy eater at home, but I cannot do that when I go out. Why? Because I fear judgment. And aren't all of us like this? Okay. We wake up without folding our bed sheets at home, but when we stay at other people's house, we make sure that we fold the bed sheets. When we are at our home, we leave our doors and windows open sometimes. But when we move out, when we are at some other's place, we don't do that. So what you are at home is very different from what you are outside. You can be vulnerable at home. You can be, free to express your feelings at home because you will not be judged, but you cannot do that outside. That is exactly why grandmother, even though she was senior, okay, she had a lot of years on this planet, even though she was a very senior, but still that element of, being embarrassed or humiliated at the hands of others, somebody who is not your immediate family, is very real. So that is why she was very reluctant to ask for help from others. Okay, so what did she end up doing? What did she end up doing? She tried to, look at the pictures and tried to understand what could that mean. So what did she try to do? She tried to, look at the pictures. That is the first thing that we do. If I give you a book with a language that you don't know, what is the first thing that you will do? You will try to look at the pictures, try to make sense from the pictures, what is happening. So the grandmother tries that, but she does not understand. What is something else that she tries? She tries to touch the words. Okay, it sounds very, filmy and flimsy right now. But she was so desperate to know the story, and I think she confronted her feeling of vulnerability for the very first time. She had not imagined that someday Sudha Murthy might go someplace and she would miss out on a novel or the episode of her favorite novel just because she does not know how to read and write. So this is her confronting her vulnerability, confronting and acknowledging that she is indeed dependent. Okay. And this is, I think, this is the genesis of the idea that, she has to be independent, because once she confronted that vulnerability, once she felt that how vulnerable it means to be dependent on others, she does not want to feel that again. Aren't we all human beings like this? Once we feel a certain way and we don't enjoy that feeling, or that does not agree with us, okay, so we try to avoid all situations that would supposedly make us feel that way. And that is exactly what grandmother is. She wants to be bulletproof. She wants to be like nothing should stop her from reading the novel. Okay, so with this motivation here, in this line, I even thought of going to the village and asking you to read for me. So she also contemplated, the grandmother also contemplated that I myself wanted to come to the wedding. So she would come over there and, come to Sudhamurti, where she was attending a wedding, and, ask her to explain the novel. Okay. Now over here on the last, I could have asked somebody in this village, but I was too embarrassed to do so. Why? Because in a way they were rich, they were well off. So there is this, mentality of a lot of people, because once you are rich, you don't want others to be granting you favors. You yourself want to grant favors to others. So in a way, since they were well off, so that could also be a source of her embarrassment, of why she was reluctant to ask others to help. All right. So this is where that transition happens. And now from now onwards, the grandmother, she was awakened. She had set Dashera. Okay, there is a Saraswati Puja that is conducted in the northern Karnataka and a lot of places as well. Okay, our culture may have different ways of expressing, but in a way they are united. Okay, it's no coincidence that once at the time when there is Janmashtami, or let's say any other festival in one part of the country, the other parts of the country would also be celebrating, although in a different manner, although in a different way, although in different practices, traditions, so on and so forth. But we are united in that spirit of celebration. Okay, so yes, Dashera, there is Saraswati Puja at the place where they live, and Saraswati being the goddess of knowledge, that is the significance why she has set that day as a deadline. She's kept that day as a deadline. Okay, I'm going to start today, I'm going to be consistent, I'm going to be persistent, and I'm going to learn Kannada by the time it is Saraswati Puja at the Dashera festival. And guess what? She works very hard. Okay, even though, okay, one thing that I've observed is, like I said, I've been working as a teacher since last 5 years. So there are many women teachers, female teachers in the school. Okay, the amount of work that they do is just out of this world. So when they come to the school in the morning, they've already prepared their lunch. They've already fed breakfast to their family. They've already finished their household work, and they come to school at 7:30 in the morning. So they stay up until, let's say, 3:40, because we also have post-lunch lectures. Then they again go home. They again prepare for the evening snacks and the dinner as well, and they also finish some other household work. So salute to all the women who manage both, because when they are at office, when they are at work, they are working. When they're home, they are also working. So the same thing is for the grandmother. She was 62. She had a lot of housework. She had a lot of kitchen work. So Sudhamurti herself, she wasn't sure would my grandmother manage to achieve the goal that she has set out to. And indeed she achieves. Okay, by the time it is the Dashera festival, she has managed to learn, because she was very persistent. She practiced every day. She read and write. That is exactly what you guys should also be doing. If you are aiming to get good at English, if you want to improve your English speaking, if you want to gain confidence, okay, repetition and consistency will build confidence. So doing at least one skill every day, write something, read something, speak something, and listen to English being spoken by somebody. Okay, that is, if you do this over a period of time, you will develop good speaking and verbal skills. So the grandmother, she achieves her goal, and there is one more twist. So on the day that she finishes, or on the day that she has learnt, that is the Saraswati Puja, she touches the feet of her granddaughter who is just 12. Okay, because the culture and the tradition that we come from, we respect our teachers, because knowledge is something that cannot be put, like you cannot put an amount on knowledge. Everything else has a monetary value, but knowledge does not. So what does the grandmother do? The grandmother touches the feet of Sudhamurti, because she considered Sudhamurti as her teacher, and she was just 12, although she was a kid, and the grandmother was 62. So without having any sense of embarrassment or humiliation, she touches the feet. And in return, Sudhamurti, considering her grandmother as an elder, she also touches the feet. And at the end, what does she gift? Sudhamurti gifts an entire compilation of those articles, like the complete novel, because now she knows that the grandmother can read it herself. Okay. So yes, this is the whole and soul of the story. In the next video, we will discuss the textbook question answers. Thank you for watching.